Hi guys, I'm back today with a video on two very special palettes. You guys probably already know which two palettes I am referring to, and that would be... Bam! I picked those up so fancily, it'll never happen that way again. But I got the Alter Ego Blooms palette, and I also have the corresponding Natasha Denona Love palette. This is the front of both of them. The prices of them are vastly different though. This one is $16 and this one is $65. Pretty good chunk of change that you will be saving if you get this over this, if it is worth it. First things first, I want to know which of these palettes you guys think is on which eye. Yeah, I'm trying to be stealthy about this switching around, but really, which palette do you think is which eye? Let me know in the comments down below because I'm really curious to see if you guys can guess which one is Natasha Denona and which one is Alter Ego. I was like, all together now. Ho ho! I'm on one. So let's go ahead and talk about a few things. Why do I have to point with my palettes? It's really awkward and off-putting. But in any case, my Alter Ego palette came really quickly. I actually got this and the Canyon palette, which is supposed to be a dupe for the Natasha Denona Bronze palette. So I'm really excited to give those a side-by-side comparison as well. I am really hoping that Alter Ego will come out with a glam palette dupe because despite not typically liking that kind of color story, I was really into it. I feel like every single look I got with it was beautiful. It was so good. I really enjoyed it. So it will be pretty hard to top the Natasha Denona version in my mind. But if anybody can do it, it's going to be Alter Ego. So in any case, I'm really excited about that. Something else I want to discuss since we are here is this. So some of you guys know I'm trying to do a foundation try-on video essentially where I try every foundation that I own, which is working out to be a lot of them. So I got to use this one today. It looks okay in this lighting, but this is awful. I'm just going to save you guys some trouble now. Typically, I really enjoy Natasha Denona products, but this is probably why it's half off right now. It is just not good. This cracked and caked and looks awful. At least some of my foundations have been pretty good because I've had some really bad hormonal and stress breakouts currently just because I have a lot going on in my personal life. And I can't get rid of them. They will not go away. So, and in full disclosure, your girl's kind of a picker. I'm one of those people. So, in any case, this did not cover. This just caked up immediately. It looked like I'd been wearing it for 10 hours after about 5 seconds, and I do not like it. So, if you're dry skin, this is definitely not something I would pick up. Maybe if you have really, really oily skin, this might be a better choice. But even then, I can't see it working out. It was so terrible. It was so bad. Anyway, sorry, just trying to keep it real like I do here on this channel. But anyway, the things that I used from Natasha Denona today that I did like were the shade Amorosa, her new Love collection she released this year. I did also use her blush and highlight duo, and I also dipped into her Bloom and Glow duo. No, this is a quad. Ooh, I'm a liar. I did also dip into this little guy, and then I did also dip into this Natasha Denona. So I tried to hit all the Natasha Denona points that I have in my collection personally. So in any case, I wasn't trying to just be harsh on the foundation. It was just really not a good fit for me. Just because it doesn't work well for me does not mean it won't work well for you. However, just saying. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and swatch both of these palettes side by side for you, and then if you want to see how I got this look, you can watch. However, full disclosure, I don't feel like it is worth watching. That's me being honest. That's terrible. Just go ahead and skip to the end for my final thoughts, because I'm trying to work out a new lighting situation for my videos, and it was awful. It was just terrible. You would think, I've got enough lights in here to, literally mimic the sun, but the way the shadows fall and stuff, you can't really see what I'm doing. It doesn't look good at all. I almost completely nixed this whole video because I was like, this is terrible. This is awful. This is getting worse. Okay, all right. And then I was just like, we got to roll with the punches here. So if you do want to see how I got this eye look, you can watch after the swatches. And at the very end, I'm going to give you my final thoughts on both of the palettes, if one of them is better than the other in my opinion, and how the performance compares to each other. Because in reality, this is supposed to be a dupe of Natasha Denona. So is it? Or is it better? Or is it worse? That was highly dramatic, but in any case, these here swatches. We're going to start with the first shade in the Love palette, and that is the shade First. And this feels like one of the creamy mattes, so it's not like a normal matte. But definitely a really nice kind of peachy transitional shade. And the Blooms palette is called Petal. This has the same kind of creamy matte formula, but the colors are totally different. I mean, they're in the same realm. If this is the much lighter version of this one, but to me that is not even close to being a dupe. The thing I want to tell you guys is that when I did swatch from this, the pan immediately got hard, so that's something just to keep in mind. Now, as far as I can tell, when you take like a brush and then swirl it up into it, it seems to be the best way to clear that hard pan. The next shade in the Natasha Denona palette is called Lifetime. And that's a really pretty kind of orange tone gold shade. The shade that matches in the blues palette is called Calla. This has almost got a slight bit of pink to it. So it is definitely less like orange. I mean, it is still orange, but more pinky orange gold. Next shade is Heartbeat from the Love palette. And this is a beautiful kind of old brick red shade. In the Blooms palette, the matching shade is Lush. This is a little bit less of a brick red, but they are similar. And in the Love palette, it's called Transparent. And this is a very beautiful peachy gold shade. Ooh, it's pretty. Shade that matches in the Blooms palette is called Lily. Okay, now it's beautiful, but it's not, I mean, it's similar, but it's not the same. It's more gold toned than just pinky. Still a very pretty shade. Trust in the Love palette. And this is a really nice, like, eggplant purple shade. The shade that matches is called Violet. It is similar, but it's still quite a bit lighter. The palette is called Heart. Ooh, that's a nice red shade. And that's like a true red. And the Blooms palette is called Rose. And it's just kind of a less deep version. More pinkish undertoned red shade. Next shade in the Love palette is called Giving. And this shade is giving me 100% Natasha Denona vibes. Like, it's a kind of pinky, orangey, gold, shifty, definitely like a trio chrome kind of shade. It is gorgeous. The Blooms palette is called Petunia. Now, these two are extremely close. This one is just slightly more orange-based, but this one is definitely more unique and beautiful in person. The next shade is called Pure Love. And this is a beautiful purple shifting orange and slightly blue shade. It is really beautiful, especially in person. I know my lighting situation sucks right now. I thought that I was going to make a better change, but this was like the worst thing I could have done. There will be pictures after I'm done with this so that you guys can see them better. And this is the shade Fuchsia from the Blooms palette. And it is very, very close. Maybe, no, it's pretty darn close. Next shade in the Love palette is called Commitment. Almost reminds me of purple beef jerky, which is the strangest way to describe it ever, but it totally does. It's very strange. It's got purple, it's got brown, it's got black, and it almost even looks like it has a tiny bit of blue speckles to it. And it's the creamiest shade I've ever used. Matching shade in Blooms is called Dahlia. This is like the prune lighter version of this. Palette is called Blind. Oh, that's a gorgeous silver. It looks like true silver in the camera, but in like real life, it almost has a bit of purple and like a slight bit of gold to it as well. Matching shade is called Daisy. And it's similar. I would say it's definitely not nearly as reflective. It's called Soul. And that's a beautiful kind of dusty rose shade. Blooms palette, this is Snapdragon. So definitely similar, but more red. The next shade in the Love palette is called Passion. And this is a really interesting shade too. It's purple and kind of maroon, and then a bit orange with gold glitter particles in it as well. The Blooms palette, this is Hibiscus. Oh, that looks totally different. Wow. It's in the same realm, but it's like 100 times light. It's like a lot lighter, more brown and orange. Shade Intense in the Love palette. It's a beautiful pink shade. Lilia in the Blooms palette. Definitely more orange toned. Next shade is Valentine in the Love palette. And that's like a true baby pink shade. Peony. That almost has a bit of a purple tint to it. The palette is called Dream. The cream to matte, very creamy. Beautiful lilac purple shade. This is Orchid in the Blooms palette. Okay, this one did not swatch the best, but this is kind of like a pinkier purple tone shade. That is the whole thing. Okay, you guys, so I'm back. I have eyeliner on, I have mascara on. I did like the worst eyeshadow look I've done in a hot minute. Well, I did a really bad one like probably 2 weeks ago and I didn't even post it. I was like, it's just not happening. It was so bad. And this is kind of the case with this because I went ham. I was like, I want to use everything in this palette, which more is more, and sometimes it's a good time, and then sometimes more is, oh my gosh, girl, what did you do? And that was kind of the case today. Now, it looks okay. It's alright. But that was me. It wasn't the palettes. Or was it? And I totally jacked up my eyeliner. So we're just going to ignore all of that, and I'm going to give you my final thoughts here. First one being that the Blooms palette, in my opinion, is much better than Natasha Denona Love palette. I am sorry. That is just where I sit on it. Here's the thing. When this actually came out last year at Sephora, I went and I swatched it in store, which, you know, not always can you tell how something is going to perform from something swatches, but it was so bad when I swatched it in store. I was like, I am not wasting my money on this. I'm not going to buy it. It's not going to happen. And so I kind of resigned to just let it go, which is hard for me because at heart, I'm a collector. I want to have everything of like one brand, and it's a problem. But in any case, so I did end up picking this up this year thinking, okay, well, maybe it's had time to improve, or maybe it was just a bad day, or maybe it was just a bad batch. Who knows? So here's the thing. The metallics are very pretty. Definitely very, very pretty. But the matte shades, I did not feel like were anywhere close to as easy to use as the ones in the Alter Ego palette. Like, I'm sorry. Like, these looks are kind of comparable. I mean, they're pretty close on the eye like this. They're pretty close. Now, I can't call this an exact dupe, but it's pretty darn close in all reality. And to me, the mattes were far easier to use, which is a big deal. Which I don't mind taking my time to build up an eyeshadow. That's all well and good, but it was kind of patchy. It was really hard to work with. It really drove me nuts. I was like, ooh. I didn't actually think it was going to be salvageable. I kind of was going to scrap this whole video because it was making me mad. But that actually wasn't me, I don't think. Now, I didn't do a great job at my makeup. I didn't. That's real talk. But they just did not perform that well in the Natasha Denona side. That's just my opinion. Now, the metallics and satins, they worked fine. This was just the case with the mattes. And the Alter Ego palette, everything worked really well. There were a few shades that were not exact dupes. But at the end of the day, my eye looks look extremely similar. And honestly, if I had better technique, they would probably be exactly the same. So, in any case, I definitely think that the Alter Ego Blooms palette is the way to go. If you love the vibes of the Natasha Denona Love palette, but you don't want to spend that kind of money, this is your guy right here. He performs circles around that palette, to be 100% honest with you. But anyway, I really hope that this video was helpful for you guys. If it was, make sure you leave a comment down below. I'm dropping stuff, just ignore that. Like this video, subscribe, and ring the bell for future updates, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.